Okay, that was a fascinating story of a CIO and the CIO perspective. Now I'm going to get our old friend Tarkan Maynor. I think this is his third year, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome back Tarkan. And I'm going to give you a hug even before the presentation, right? If you remember, Tarkan was here last year and he made such an inspirational presentation. People actually came up to the stage and hugged him, right?
I think he's here.
Yeah, where's our friend? There he is.
Don't you remember we were hugging each other almost?
Okay, so Tarkan is the CEO of a company called Nexenta. Prior to that, he ran Wise Technologies, which he sold to actually Basque's company now, right? To Dell for over $1 billion, and has had a great career in the software industry and the tech industry. So we're going to talk, again, based on Silicon Valley perspectives. We're just going to get deep into software is everything these days, Tarkan, right? It's in your car, it's in your phone, it's in everything you do. So, and you participated in this whole move from hardware to software, like at Wise. Maybe we can start with your journey at Wise and your journey now at Nexenta, where you're actually turning storage into more of a software-defined storage, right?
Perfect.
So why don't you start with your previous journey of how things became software and then get into what you're doing now.
Thank you. As you said, this is like the 10th year of NASSCOM. Teenagers. When I started NASSCOM, actually, I was a millennial. Now I just turned almost 50. And one of the comments, I was listening to Basque, amazing interview. He said he sleeps so comfortably. I don't remember I slept comfortably over the past 20 years. I'm averaging about 3 years. I'm paranoid all the time what's going on in my competitive landscape. But first of all, great to be here. MR, thank you, and NASSCOM team. You guys are always doing an amazing job. I'm seeing all the Facebook postings and all the energy in the room, in town. I just flew in actually from Doha, from Qatar here. We're doing a lot of work in the Middle East right now. So tying to entire story that you just mentioned and tying to a little bit what VMware talked about earlier. My previous company, Wise, we did actually these zero clients, basically these thin devices. Some of you guys remember from previous sessions in the past years. Basically, our goal was to disrupt the fat PC. We believe that the enterprises and consumers are moving to a thin, zero attack surface cloud clients, basically delivering the entire operating system and applications from the cloud. That was our vision. Wise was a 30-year-old company, bankrupt, basically $30 million revenue. I mentioned this in the past sessions, and basically with 20% gross margin, it was almost out of business. What we saw is turn that company into a software company, basically making that glue, secure glue between data center and end users. This way, we believe that the news infrastructure gives a democratized way of running the business for the CIOs in a secure, controlled way. So as we grew the business almost 500% from 2004 to 2012 timeframe, right before our S1, Dell acquired us for more than $1 billion. And the idea was for every dollar of thin client being sold, zero client being sold, there's going to be about $20, 20x, to be sold in the data center. And that data center includes server, compute, networking, and storage. And what we realized is 60 to 70% of all the cost was related to storage. Even if you're bankrupted of your business and you're not buying any new IT, you still have to buy disk and flash. You still have to buy storage. That's the most consumable part of the data center. And that's why we have a thing called Storage Mafia. 8 big storage vendors, 3 of them Japanese, 5 of them US, control 95% of the storage market. It's like an Orwellian, controlled oligopoly. So basically, when I was at Dell, we realized we are not selling any storage anymore. The hardware is not selling, and enterprises are looking for a new disruption. As we disrupted the PC, the fat PC with a thin device, now the enterprises were looking for an application-defined way to change the data center, especially in the storage space. VMware did a fantastic job with virtualizing servers. Network virtualization is still a difficult matter because there are only 1 or 2 companies strong in networking. But in storage, the disruption the Arab Spring, so to speak, didn't come to storage market yet, and we found out that a company called Nexenta at that time is basically moving into that space with a software-only model, virtualizing storage capabilities on any server, on any disk, any flash. So that was the big change for us, and we wanted to buy the company, and the company basically didn't want to sell. And they said, look, we don't want to sell, we want to do an IPO. How about you join us and invest in our company? So I'm a personal investor in the company, and many of you might know I don't take salary from the company. I'm basically an investor, pure investor, and so is my entire executive management team. We are the only company probably in the space that the management team makes zero salary, all equity owners. And our vision is basically to change the world with a software-only approach on any server, any disk, any flash, in an application-defined storage way for very large workloads around the world. So this company was originally an open source project. Over the past 3 years since we joined, we turned the company into a closed source business. We believe open core is the way to go, not pure open source. We have a huge open source community, almost 100,000 companies, individuals and engineers work with us in the open source community that we manage. However, we license and charge maintenance for our software. The reason we don't do software as a service, because most of our customers, almost half of it, more than half of it, is cloud service providers. Amazon, Google, Azure, many service providers here, from Wipro to Reliance, they do business with us. So that's the reason we do not do a software as a service model. We basically support cloud service providers as our customers to buy capacity from us and to sell a service to customers. Dropbox buys from us to give you a personal service. We don't sell consumers, we sell Dropbox. Dropbox provides the service to you. As the example goes, we also sell directly to our enterprise customers through partners like here, like in India with HCL, with Cognizant, with Wipro, with Infosys, and many of our key strategic partners. So we truly believe this is the next big thing in the industry. Obviously, Diraj is going to be right after me. I want to grow up and become like Diraj. We're still on the privately held side. Diraj, congratulations for your amazing IPO. And our goal is obviously to get that point in the next 2 to 3 years. And as part of this continuum, we brought in a lot of investment from our strategic partners like Western Digital, SanDisk, Samsung, Yahoo, Google Ventures, as well as Dell. EMC is one of our lead investors, but we also go through with our individual investors as well as VCs to get to that point for the ultimate goal of an IPO.
Great. You know, yesterday there was a discussion by Naveen, who's CEO of InMobi, that said,
one of our customers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this guy right there sold and made a lot of commission. He has a brand new car now with his commission.
Great.
The guy on the, are you single? No, you're not. He's not available. Sorry.
So I think with yesterday, you know, journey of a startup was explained kind of like in a cricket analogy, right? You play the T20 match, you get ready, and then you play the one-day matches, and then you play the 5-day test matches, right? So that's kind of how a company's evolution was described.
I look like I'm smart. I'm understanding what he's saying. I have no clue about cricket, but look at me. I'm just.
Okay, so how would you describe that journey of going from a raw startup to kind of the next stage and the next stage? How did you evolve Wise? How are you evolving Nexenta?
The way we look at it, basically, based on my career, where with my network of friends and colleagues, we build our go-to-market model. We basically like to find companies which have a disruptive model, usually software-only model, with high gross margins, minimum 80% gross margin business model, and pick those companies, specifically maybe sometimes in an open source vision, and basically move those companies into an enterprise mode. So we are not necessarily super smart people who are going to code the next generation product, but we look for companies with a phenomenal IP, but not necessarily operated well. So from that context is important. So we look to work with companies and investors and entrepreneurs who we can add value in terms of customer partner intimacy, operational excellence, teaming, team building, and as well as obviously very importantly, as you move forward, building a culture and building an ecosystem for the company as it moves. So within those stages, from an investment perspective, there are companies becoming early stage. There are companies we maybe might come in and help in the late stage, both as executive managers of the company, as well as investors in our ecosystem. Let me explain this. This is very important. Even though I'm the CEO and chairman of Nexenta, I also with my investment group and our executive team, we also invest in the companies in our ecosystem. To give you an example, I was just talking to this gentleman who is building one of the largest data center network. I was talking to him earlier in Doha, Qatar, for the World Cup coming up in 2022. Soccer lovers in the room? India is going to go, right? He has to go to this World Cup. Only one person? You're killing me. Everybody loves the cricket here, but you need to play soccer. Come on. The most important, and there's a lot of money opportunity, right? So these guys building one of the largest set of data centers, and containers is a big deal for them. And as Nexenta and as investors of Nexenta, we invested in several container companies that we work with because we want to make sure we build an ecosystem, a value-added network, which also brings value to our service partners. And the CIO, as we're working with, and Vodafone is part of this project as well, they told us, look, we want the security company, software-defined storage company like Nexenta, the server company, the big data analytics company, as well as the container company come in and build this new infrastructure with the service companies we choose. And in this case, Wipro is going to be our partner for this specific deal. But to give an example, we actually invest into these companies with our investors. So going back to your question earlier, we usually like to find investors who have a long-term vision. We don't like the wham, bam, thank you, ma'am type people come in, put money in. They don't add any value to business and get out. They're just there to make 3x, 4x, 10x. In Diraj's case, maybe 180x. Diraj, I'm sure you're going to give numbers. So we like to make sure the investor has a context and a vested interest in our business. So on our board, we have investors, strategic, and also VCs who are long-term investors. As a matter of fact, I arrived here at 3 a.m. tonight. At 4 a.m. here, local time, I didn't have a sleep. I don't know how this guy is sleeping all night. CIOs don't sleep earlier normally. But so I'm having like calls with my investor, and he's like, hey, how can I help with this deal? Because I have some people in Doha who can help you with the X, workload. So these are the type of conversations we like from the investors. And I know there are a lot of entrepreneurs in the room looking for investment. Make sure the investors you choose are long-term, have long-term vision, support you in your go-to-market, and in areas you might, as an entrepreneur, you might have weaknesses. There are certain areas you might not be good at that you want your investors to support you. Lastly, do not get, obviously, strategic investors too early. Sometimes strategic investors come in too early, put a lot of money, control the company, which might limit your exit options, because not every company is going to go IPO. Some of your exits are going to be M&A type exits, and sometimes those strategic investors might have different goals and competitive with potential buyers of your company in the future. So those are another small, I would say, nuance that the entrepreneurs need to be careful. One last point. We would love to make sure we also have secondary investors. They might not be on your board, but they bring additional value in certain specific areas. To give you an example, as an entrepreneur, you have growth path in terms of vertical industries you want to get into. In certain vertical industries, you might not have any clue, and usually tech people are, like us, all geeks. They don't understand every single vertical industry. Imagine you have, in vertical industries you want to go after, there are investors coming in and helping you. To give you an example, one of our biggest customers is a company called Ravionics out of Texas in the US. They are the #1 data analytics company for Walmart. So Walmart is here, right? You're going to have a discussion with them. And we have them also invested in our business. We work together, sell them, at the same time use them and their skill sets to go to other retailers to win business. So as an entrepreneur, it's important to build those value-added networks with your investors, customers, and partners in a nice ecosystem closed loop. So those are the few things I would suggest to entrepreneurs in the room.
I have one more question for you, but I'll also get the audience ready for a couple of questions, right? So you've come to India now, you've been at NPC 3 times, you've come to India over the years. What are you finding? Are you finding a noticeable difference in the climate here? What are the changes you're seeing?
I've been coming to India almost 2 decades now. When I was in bigger companies, smaller companies, at Wise actually we built one of the biggest data centers here in Whitefield many years ago, almost now a decade ago. Obviously, the understanding of the Silicon Valley and understanding of how businesses run the specific skill set that entrepreneurs are garnering is getting faster, becoming much more, in my opinion, mature. I remember when we had these conversations in the past, you and I were here many, many years back in some of these conversations. First of all, the room used to be very, very small, and there would be very few entrepreneurs. The room used to be filled with a lot of staff from larger companies coming from US. Now I see a lot of local domestic entrepreneurs who are actually growing their business to go into the US. And the other thing is I'm seeing is, even though India is the brain power to Silicon Valley in many different ways, as a matter of fact, how many of you been to Dubai or Doha in the last, let's say, a decade? Raise your hand for me. Almost quite a few. As you know, in these places, and I go to, we have a lot of customers in this region. Since I just got back from there, almost 80% of the data centers are run, managed, and strategized with folks from here, Bangalore. I was just talking to one of our big e-hosting customers. The CIO and the staff is actually from Bangalore. I worked with this guy about 15 years ago, ex-IBMer, and we were having a conversation how he's actually bringing a slew of folks from here to Dubai, to Internet City, to Media City, and how they're building the business there. So I guess also that maturity creates more mobility. And I think Bangalore, in a sense, is a Silicon Valley in its own right, not only supporting Bangalore itself and Karnataka itself and India itself, but the rest of the world. So it's very, very pleasing to me as a friend of India and friend of, obviously, NASSCOM and Bangalore, how much we made as a team over the past decade. And I think it's going to get faster and faster. And best example, as Bask was talking about the things that he's worrying about, he's talking about, he himself has a huge team here. In the past, you didn't see VMware has a big team here, managing applications here. And last time I checked, about a decade ago, a lot of QA work used to be done here, not necessarily architectural design work. Now, a lot of software companies have teams over here designing software, building architecture. Not only rudimentary work, but actually game-changing, innovative work is taking place here, which is a huge change, and I think it's going to create a lot of multiplier effect economically for the city, state, as well as the country.
Great. A couple of questions for Tarkan. I see a hand. Yeah, right here.
Diraj, let's start with Diraj, come on.
We're going to quiz him next. Okay, he's good. Okay.
Here's the microphone.
All right, we give him priority.
By the way, Diraj, you look so good. Look at you. You look like Mark Zuckerberg. I swear, like, the only hoodie is me.
I need a hoodie
I have
now.
to have my, like, all my suits still, because I'm still private. I need to be presentable to you. You're going to see, he looks like a model. Go ahead.
Now I'm blushing,
Hi.
This is going to be a little bit fun-filled one. Have you first of all seen Virat Kohli? He's one of the best cricketers that this country has produced. He's a sort of a millennial. And if you lost weight, you'd look like him.
Oh, really? I love you. Thank you. Is he overweight? I don't know the guy. Is he overweight?
No, you are overweight.
I'm overweight. Oh, I misunderstood. Don't tell my wife. I haven't been home 2 weeks, and now you're calling me fat. She's going to leave me.
Is she doing well?
She's doing great.
How about your baby?
Baby's doing great. Thank you for asking. I have a 6-month-old, and Diraj is talking about it. I haven't seen her for 2 weeks. Only she grew. I'm like on the Facebook checking pictures from her, so it's amazing time. It's a baby girl, and thank you for bringing up Diraj.
One observation I'll make about Tarkan is that he's an entrepreneur, but he's also a great human being. I mean, if you look at his Facebook page, you'll realize how much he loves his wife and how much he loves his daughter. I think it's just unbelievable how human you are behind this.
Thank you. And how much I dislike Trump. I have to say that. Like there's a big talk going on in the U.S., straight talk from the heart. Like, most democratic people are like nice. They would not say it. I just have a new path that I say as it is. So I dislike this guy a lot. So I'm sure there are maybe some Trump supporters. In the room. I would love to have a conversation with you guys at the
There is a conspiracy theory that the Access Hollywood tape was leaked by a Turkish person who was a friend of yours.
More than likely. More than likely. Absolutely. Diraj, great to see you, by the way.
Hey,
I'm looking forward to your session.
Pleasure.
We had a question here.
This is the fun place. What other world in a place like this that these kind of energy we have?
Hey, hi Tarkan.
Man, great to see you. I just saw you. You were at Dell World, right? No, VMworld. We were together.
Yeah, I was
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's an entrepreneur I like, by the way. A lot of energy.
Thanks a lot.
Good to see you.
So my simple question is like, still what we see in the Indian ecosystem or where like we don't have too much technology buyer as such in India itself, right? What do you suggest to the entrepreneur who are developing the core technology like an Nexenta or Nutanix to go to the market because like it's still like we do not have like North America kind of a market in terms of the technology buying.
Okay, let me give you a couple of my observations before I answer the question. I actually personally, as a CEO who's focused heavily on the sales and marketing side of the business, as we have a very strong R&D team we built over the past few years, I'm just taking over more on the sales side on the last, especially last 12 months. I'll tell you, a big portion of our business is happening actually in India. Actually, Vikram runs our business development here. If you're an entrepreneur, don't assume that Indian buyers are not buying. I think actually it's a huge market opportunity if you have and we have all the right solution. Especially some of the service providers, government buyers. I know the tenders are still difficult here. Sometimes, you know, you get old and gray hair, gain weight, as Dheeraj suggested. That's why part of my gaining weight, because all those tenders we're working in with Delhi. But joking aside, I see a buying spree is getting stronger in India. I really do believe that, especially in the last 2 years. Vikram, right? I mean, you made tons of money as our sales guy here. So, having said all this, truthfully, I'm jealous. He makes more money than I do. I kid you not. Having said all this, this is very important. Like you come to VMworld, you are constantly working booth to booth, presenting your product, presenting what you do. You're a partner of ours. We worked with you in the past. I think that's important. You need to take the time to come to Silicon Valley, come to these big events, Delhi EMC World, Nutanix doing the next conference, for instance. Be part of these type of global marketing activity that US companies do a primarily good job. So in India, as you're differentiating your IP, which you have a very differentiated IP as your company, we like you guys a lot, for instance, the way you go out there and tell your story yourself, I think is going to make a big difference also for global expansion. But one key thing, one area I believe Indian companies have to do better, in my humble opinion, especially coming from Bangalore, from Silicon Valley of India, is to build better value-added networks, not only with the customer, but with channel partners, with companies like who are providing services to you, might be Wipro, Infosys, Cognizant, whatever that might be, but also governmental NGOs who can help you to build business. You do a lot of work with sovereign wealth funds now, government organizations to get into the enterprise market. Yesterday in Doha, last point, I know we're late, I don't want to eat up from Dheeraj's time, I want to hear the IPO story, that's the story I'm here for. When you go to, for instance, in Doha, we're working with the big data center for World Cup. The Ministry of Sport and Ministry of Trade are behind this, and they're part of the ecosystem. Building that relationship makes a big difference. When I'm meeting with the minister, there was an Indian company with me, not from here, obviously, it was from Delhi, doing a deal with them at the right time, and they are there. I think that's going to be very important to have a global vision beyond India, but having said that, don't lose your domestic market either. I really think Indian buyers are buying a lot of software now, and they're looking in the future in a different way than we looked in maybe 10 years ago.
Great.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
On that note, I think we'll conclude the session. Tarkan, we love you, man. And come back again.
I love you. Thank you.
And I've got to hug you again.
Don't tweet about my weight.